Ladies and gentlemen, I am John Garcia.
And I am Steve Edwards, and we are
Weeding Through the
BS. We're live. We're back here. So excited to be back after my trip. Memphis. It was great though.
Of course, because the food.
Oh, man, I couldn't. I got some.
I was chills.
I gotta tell you, I'm gonna say it here live. Weeding through the BS. Memphis barbecue is not good.
What?
Uh-oh.
The myth?
I was not happy with Memphis barbecue.
And Steve, for the record, Steve knows barbecue. He doesn't mean brisket. No BS there, so you know what you're talking about.
When you talk about, let's talk about ribs for a second. Ribs should have a little bit of a pink smoke ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's the myth. Some people say falling off the bones is the best,
yep.
right? But in competition, that's actually bad.
Exactly.
So it's there, but I found out that Memphis barbecue is very dry rubby. And I like a good dry rub, right? Obviously, I bought some back for you, and I brought one back for myself, too, because I like the flavor of it. But I went to this place that people told me, and it happened to be right next to my hotel. I will not say the name of it. But I go in there.
BS. You got to give the name.
I went in there, and I was like, what are you known for? He's like, the brisket and rib plate. So I'm like, okay, just get that. I always get the sampler when I go to a place anyway. I will say this, the brisket, amazing flavor, but not the way I like brisket. I'm a Texas brisket guy. That's what I like. But the ribs.
What?
Oh my God. I'm like, first of all, I look at the ribs. I'm like, okay, it's all full of dry rub. I crack them. It's like, I'm like, there was all brown in there. And I was like, is this how they're supposed to be? And the guy's like, yeah. I was like, this is hard in there. Yeah. But then they made the cardinal sin rule of barbecuing ribs. They didn't take the membrane off the back of the ribs.
Oh, man. That's rookie. That's amateur.
Who does that in your huge barbecue spot? So, I can talk about barbecue all day, but today I'm excited. We have John Morgan on here, and John is a consultant and an advisor, does so many things. You know, I've known John for a long time. We have some same views, some different views, but John is somebody that is just out there that just weeds through the BS and gets shit done. So, John, welcome. Tell us a little bit about John.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. And absolutely, it's been a pleasure knowing you, Steve, going back to when we first met, via LinkedIn and did your DNA assessment. And that's probably one of the things we'll talk a little bit about today, not yours in particular, but just how that can benefit folks in general. So a little bit about me. I mean, I grew up with a single mom, moved a ton of times, 5 times before I was 12. My father was an alcoholic musician and didn't really know him and passed away before I really got to know him. And so, the beginning of life was a lot of moving, a lot of change, and a single parent. And so, I don't remember it as anything but pleasant because, it got me to be resilient and certainly not afraid to meet new people because it happened every few years. Then I, got into, high school, obviously played sports, did things like that. Was a little bit of a wild child, so ran around in the bar business for many years, out chasing the girls for probably way too long, but had a great time and somehow came out alive. But then I realized, you know what, I'm getting a little bit older. I better start thinking about a future. And so I got into restaurant management. And I did that for a few years in D.C., went on a 10-day Mexican vacation, came back to DC's ice storm and was wondering to myself as I was hailing a cab on 15th and Mass, what am I doing here? And literally 2 weeks later, an opening happened in South Florida, and I volunteered to transfer down with Vita France at the time, and I started managing their location in the Galleria Mall. So that's how I got to Florida, and it was all in the restaurant business. And so in the restaurant business, I was always a front of the house guy, shaking hands, kissing the babies, just making sure that everybody had a great time. So I've always been that guy, right? When there was a party to happen, somebody would let me know, I'd get everybody excited and get everybody there. And so that's kind of always been a natural talent of mine. So that was something that came very natural to me. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I opened my own restaurant, which is actually still alive today, 27 years later, called Tequila Sunrise Mexican Cafe.
Nice.
Myself and a partner opened that in December of 95 and ran that for about 5 years, met my wife, got married, had kids, and I was actually supposed to buy my partner out at the time, and then he reneged on the agreement. Anyway, long story short, I ended up selling. Got into financial advising after that for 17 years, sold that. And then for the last 4 years, I've been doing consulting in financial services, fintech, and all around, helping advisors kind of maximize, grow their practices, et cetera.
So you weeded through a whole lot of BS to get to where you're at today.
Oh, yeah. And, the BS was really not having any direction. And, back to that assessment I mentioned, that has been a life changer for me personally, because what it got me to see about myself was some really important factors. One, that my natural strengths and ability are absolutely being out and about and spontaneous and taking risks and, making people feel welcome. Those types of things have always been strengths of mine. But the blind spots were really more important. Being spontaneous. I've made a lot of decisions over the years without dotting my I's and crossing my T's, not looking to the future to see how it might impact me negatively. And because of that, I kept taking 2 steps back to try to get forward. And a lot of other things too. I have a ease to communicate directly and candidly. And as you become under stress and duress, the stronger behavioral factors actually amplify. So whatever's going on in there is getting amplified as you're under these stressful situations. And it's happening all the time, both personally and professionally. So that was where things started to change for me, where I could start seeing some of the behaviors that were getting in my way and having the ability to start to modify those behaviors. And then also fully embrace my natural strengths and ability of being out, connecting people, loving to help people, and just maximizing those to the fullest has been just, it's been great. It's just been something that's changed everything for me. And I haven't been more excited about what's going forward than I have been today.
So you mentioned it a couple times now, but obviously it sounds great. What is this DNA?
So DNA Behavior is a behavioral finance company that has been around since 2001. They've developed a validated natural behavior assessment. Natural behavior is level 1 behavior. It's set in stone by age of 3 and doesn't change much throughout your lifetime. It's happening in your unconscious brain. And it's affecting every part of your life, both personally and professionally, especially around relationships. And it's just fascinating to kind of be able to dig deeper and have that stronger sense of self-awareness, right? And be able to, again, maximize the use of your strengths, but also be fully aware of your blind spots, because, the stuff that's happening in your unconscious brain, you're not aware of it. It's happening whether you like it or not. Your unconscious brain makes most of the decisions for you without much input from yourself. So, they say count to 10, right? Don't send the email till tomorrow. All of those things are scientifically based. They sound quirky, but the reality is that it's giving you time to take a deep breath and think through what you're going to say, so that what you do say is, being able to be received by the other end without prejudice or, being upset about it.
Give us one example, one of those blind spots that this assessment or through just experience you found out, was hindering you.
For me in particular, being spontaneous and having an ease to communicate directly and candidly, when I felt any kind of attack of myself, it would amplify those behaviors, and I would shoot back hard, straight, weeding straight through the BS.
I don't know. I don't know if
and because of that, I've hurt a lot of relationships unnecessarily. And what I had to learn was that even if I'm right or wrong, it does not matter. At the end of the day, if I hurt a relationship unnecessarily, in the end, I've hurt myself.
Is there still a topic that triggers that response for you?
There's not that many. I mean, there's a lot of them, and they, and it's a natural behavior, so you can't get around it. But I know you don't want to go there, Johnny.
We're not going there. We're not
slow down over there.
We know the trigger.
We'll have to change the name of the show if you're not careful.
We know, John. John,
you have a book in you. Don't worry. The Weeding Through the BS of blank.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that off the.
Absolutely.
John said if we go down one route here, he's gonna have to call it feeding through the BS. So, or feeding through the BS.
Feeding you the BS, you mean?
Feeding you the BS.
Yeah.
So hey,
no,
John,
but it's it is something that has been extremely powerful for me and valuable, and so for me, I know you guys ask typically what would be the one thing that I would tell others to do is take a natural behavior assessment, figure out what your natural strengths and abilities are, figure out where your blind spots are, and then go for it. Don't be afraid. You only live once. Nice. Get out there, use those strengths and abilities to the fullest, and make stuff happen. And don't be afraid, because fear is the biggest killer of dreams, and you only get one chance at this, so just go for it.
That's music to my ears, right? Take chances, go for it. Just don't listen to anybody else. A lot of people aren't gonna say that, but you were talking about spontaneous and what you say. Send the email tomorrow. I was talking with my editor for the book today earlier, and he's all this stuff, this mind mapping and everything that I have to do now for this, and I was like, listen, I just put stuff on paper. You make it look sexy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you got to wordsmith it, right? Here's what I want it to go. But it's really a good exercise, because we know I'm going to say stuff. I say it all the time, right? I say stuff direct, and some people are like, maybe that's not the right way, but I try to weed through the BS and get right down to the point.
Not a lot of filters coming out of Steve. It's straight to the point.
Right there.
But honestly, though, that is something to be aware of. And again, for me also, I guess there may be a time and a place for it, but there's ways to say things that are not offensive. And I think that, that you and I both, can take something from that, right? You can say the exact same thing in a way that somebody's going to be able to receive it in a way that makes sense for them, and that's not going to be offensive. And so
that's a
I
great
think
BS point, because what's offensive to you may not be offensive to me, and we could both say it very matter-of-factly and with respect, but this society gets offended at the drop of a hat. Yes or BS? Come on, John.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, but we're going down some paths here. But
we're not talking about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be just your.
Well, I mean, that whole thing out there now. I mean, if you guys are going to edit this, let's talk about it. But
I'm just talking about my kids in Little League, and the coach doesn't play them, and I get upset and I get mad at the coach. I get offended because he didn't play my son. I mean, that's the kind of world we live in. So how do you say something, I think, without offending somebody? I think you're going to offend somebody, is my point.
No, absolutely. And I'm not saying that you're not going to, and maybe there's not instances where maybe it's deserved, but I just say, if you can learn to say things in a way that get the same point across in a way that's not offensive, you win. That's what I mean. And believe me, this is a daily battle for myself, because I am at the high level of spontaneity. I'm at the high level of communicating directly and candidly, and it's a natural behavior. It's not something that you think about. It happens in the unconscious brain, and it's a reaction. And so that's what I had to see, was that, I need to take a deep breath and not just react, think through what I'm going to say. And I can say it in a way that, is not as offensive and really maybe doesn't hurt feelings unnecessarily. And that's a win for me and for them, I think. So that's really more what it is. It's not that you can't be direct and you can't be honest,
Yes.
but there's a way to do it. I think that in the end, if you do it correctly, you win.
Yeah, I think, but I think you're right about like society right now. I was listening to a comedian last night. My flight got in. It's like 2:00, and I'm like,
In the morning.
usually I'm, I like my, books on tape and leadership and listen to them through the library. But it was late. I didn't want to drink a 5-hour that late, and so I'm listening to a comedian, and he starts out. He goes, "Who's here and who's ready to get offended today?" And he goes, "I'm going to offend somebody out there."
Yeah.
And he happens to be this guy, and his name's Matt Rife, and he's funny, and some of the things he says, but he's like, "Listen, I'm a pretty white guy, and I'm going to offend people." He goes, "I can't even sing songs anymore." But we really live in a society where you're going to piss somebody off no matter what you say.
Yeah.
And you can say it as nice as you want, but somebody's always going to get
That's
mad.
the sad truth when a comedian has to do a disclaimer before they start the jokes. When I was growing up, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Robin Williams, all these guys, classic, they never ever apologized to anybody. And the people who laugh the hardest are the ones who could relate the most, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to admit it, but if they're making fun of a Cuban immigrant family, and we came over on boats, and I'd be the first to crack up. But now I'd be the first to start a lawsuit, right?
Right.
It's like you can't speak about, that. It's like, so that, that's.
I don't think it's you that would start a lawsuit.
No, definitely not me.
Not yet.
I'd
Yeah,
crack
yeah.
my ass up.
Yeah.
I'd be laughing like crazy.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Well, yeah, that's the total.
No, I'm with you there. I mean, if you knew myself and all my friends, I grew up with an extremely diverse group of friends, and that's all we did was cut on each other.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, as offensive as you could possibly imagine. But again, there's a time and place for that,
Yeah, if you're in
and
a comedy club, though, I mean, you go, you should be ready for some language and some, things that are a little bit, just not what you.
yeah, I mean, if it's all said in jest and for fun and with love, it's fine, right? It's
Yeah.
when you say it with venom
Yeah,
and
absolutely,
hatred
yeah.
is when it's different, right?
Right, that's it. Right, there's and let's be honest, our world, there's a lot of hatred in our world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of negativity, and I want it to be positive. I was talking yesterday with this kid. He had given me a tour of their national headquarters of their fraternity, and I was touring, and I was just talking with him, and then afterwards, my kind of like mentorship started coming in, talking with this kid, and it was, he was telling me what he watches on TV and stuff like that, right? And we know I like to say TV is bubblegum for the mind, and there's certain things, there's certain stuff that I watch and don't watch, stuff like that. But he told me what he was watching, and I was like, if that was me, I probably wouldn't watch that.
Mhm.
But what you're going to school for, what you got your degree in, and he wants to be a forensic scientist, and he wants to be, out there, and he loves true crime mystery.
Let's go.
So I'm like,
That's better than a lot of the stuff that's out there.
no, exactly. But that's what he was watching, and so like we talked, but then he started asking about his, his girlfriend's in sales, and she wanted to be in there. So it was always interesting to see that. So, John, you got to ask you, DC restaurant. Do you go up to DC a lot now?
I used to go every year. My family was still in DC up until probably maybe 6 years ago. So every year we'd go for Thanksgiving, and then it was great because I get to do a reunion party with all my old high school buddies, which I still am in contact with. Probably
Yeah, that's great.
10 best friends from back in the middle 80s.
I just got an
and-
invite for a reunion myself. Yeah, all my friends are in New Jersey, so I know what you mean. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you were from the restaurant industry. Favorite restaurant in DC? Favorite restaurant in DC? Favorite restaurant here in South Florida?
Can't be yours.
Can't be
Good
Tequila
question.
Sunrise. I know I've heard of it. Where is
Yeah, no, Tequila Sunrise is phenomenal. If you like Mexican food and margaritas, the menu is unbelievable. And the guy that runs it is a friend of mine. He was actually a waiter of mine at Vita France that I brought over in '96.
Wow.
He fought it tooth and nail too. And he ended up being able to take it over about maybe 9 years ago, and his whole family is working it now, and they're doing fantastic. So it's an amazing story. But as far as favorite restaurant in DC, it's funny you asked that because I just sent a gift certificate to a colleague of mine in DC for my favorite restaurant, which is Persimmon Restaurant. It's been around for, I think, 30 years. A friend of mine from high school, Chef Damien Salvatore, he opened it, 30 years ago. It's been, highly acclaimed, all kinds of awards. He's opened up a couple restaurants since then, but the food is phenomenal. Atmosphere is great and wonderful.
What kind of food?
It's a mix of different things. He typically takes what's fresh and kind of turns it into something amazing. So I don't think there's any like real exact flavor. I think he really kind of mixes it up.
Yeah, like just coming up, with different menus and coming up with different things based on that.
Yeah, he's extremely talented like that.
Yeah, you don't make it.
And as far as for here, I'm a big Jamaican Jerk fan. So we like Rocksteady. We go there pretty often. That's a pretty good spot. And then obviously Tequila Sunrise is
where's Rocksteady?
Really good. What's that?
Where's Rocksteady?
Rocksteady is on Federal Highway, a little bit south of Glades.
Surprised you haven't been there. John's a foodie here.
Yeah. I haven't even heard of it. All right.
Yeah, they do some good food over there.
I wanted to ask you because as a consultant now, you've been through quite a bit, and I think as a consultant, obviously you have a lot more value having that diverse background. I think restaurant business is the toughest business, in my opinion, not only to work for, but to make successful. So now a guy comes to you and tells you his story, and you don't want to be his consultant, right? You don't believe either in what he's saying. You just don't get a good vibe. How do you turn away clients at this point because it's not a good fit?
So I don't consult for individual advisors. I consult for financial technology firms and services in financial services. So yeah, I would turn away clients that I didn't think were, extremely valuable to the end user. And so that's why I was telling you I'm so excited right now because I just brought on a new client called Estate Guru that allows advisors to be able to do full estate planning in-house, which is a game changer for them. It's a great way to kind of lead in prospecting and other things. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't work with individual advisors. I actually help advisors see technologies and services that maybe they were unaware of that can help them maximize their practice, grow it, scale it, et cetera.
You know why I ask? Because I do health coaching sometimes.
Yeah.
And people want to change their lives, but they don't want to do anything to actually change their lives. So I was hoping to get something from you, like you said, certain parameters or boundaries where basically if they're not fulfilling this part of the bargain, they're out. No, I don't do coaching, but I do offer the DNA assessment to folks like Steve and others because I feel like it was a gift given to me. It was extremely valuable. And so I enjoy giving it to others. And certainly if I was a coach, I would have those parameters. I mean, if somebody's not willing to hear you out, follow, the advice that you're giving them, then there's no point in coaching them, right? They're uncoachable. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think you have to determine that, right? And once you do, then absolutely, you've got to let them go. I mean, I've let clients go as an advisor, that were just didn't listen, were maybe, rude or whatever to my assistant or, I gave them enough chances, but I eventually let them know that, listen, we're a business here. We love to take care of you and make sure everything is good for you. And I think that we do that well, but there is a line that you can't cross. And one of them is being rude to an assistant or not following, our recommendations. What's the point of working with somebody if you're not going to follow their directions, right?
So many consultants come in and they're like, here's all the problems.
You're right. Yeah, they're good at that.
But they don't have a plan to fix. So it kind of sounds like you have a plan. Like when you go in and say, here are the challenges you're having, here's the plan to fix them. Am I correct?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more so, I actually typically reach out to some advisors, but also directly to firms, some of the leadership. My job is more so to try to open up doors for the larger institutions and get them to adopt. But part of that strategy always encompasses getting advisor buy-in, especially at the larger firms. Sometimes they won't even look at a technology until 50 plus of their advisors are already using it. And then it gets on their radar, and then they think about putting it on their vendor approval. And that's kind of, the steps that you have to take to kind of get through the BS, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of that, getting technologies into organizations.
As a platform,
Yes,
virtual,
yes.
you have to reach a certain amount of, to also get vetted and get through as a
Are your couple BS questions? Mentoring or having a good mentor, BS or good to have?
Excellent to have. And unfortunately, I have not had any actual mentors. I mean, again, when I was growing up, I just kind of went with the flow, right? Being spontaneous. I never had a plan, a game plan. I was, I blew with the wind, typically, and made decisions quickly without necessarily thinking through them. So I didn't have anybody to tell me, hey, you should have a mentor through most of my career. But absolutely, looking back, having somebody that's been there and done that, somebody that you can bounce ideas off, issues off, 100% valuable, and definitely no BS.
All right. Networking, BS or no BS?
No BS. I built my entire financial planning practice by networking. I joined the chamber, was on the executive board, volunteered for the firefighter pension board, was out and about religiously. And that's how I built my business, was just being out and about and meeting people and developing relationships. And that's what my whole life has been about, is developing relationships that are strong. And it's starting to really pay off for me now, again, in my new career. So no BS.
What's your favorite networking event to go to or to host? I'll throw that one in there.
Yeah,
I'll throw your softball there, John.
Well, I like anything that brings a diverse mix of folks together. But I would have to say our LinkedIn Locals have been a new favorite. We're actually planning to do another one, I think, in April. So we'll definitely let you guys know, because we love that you guys always attend, and we do appreciate that. And, you guys are the same. I know, Steve, you're out and about all the time. I've run into you at multiple different events, and, your story is amazing. I've watching what's happened with you, and, going through COVID, and, having that timing be right for kind of what you saw as your vision, and where it's gone, in just a short period of time, is pretty amazing. So really cool. And I have some questions about that for you offline, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that, John. That's why I'm excited to have you on here, because we know, right, how important networking is. And I think it gets lost a little bit now. I think the younger generations kind of get away from it a little bit more. I think their networking is, hey, we're going to the bars. But I think if you go into the average networking place. Now, when I built my last business, this was pre-wife, pre-kids. It was networking breakfast, networking lunch, and networking happy hours. I mean, it was just that's all I did. But I was out there trying to build a business. And then, I started to kind of look at it, and certain ones I had to cut off, because I would look at who's there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them were, oh man, this is it's all network marketers. They're all like, hey, I'm trying to sell you this product and this business card and this business card. And John here knows how much I dislike business cards. By the way, the new digital business card, broke it out this weekend at the conference. Yeah. That's, for the people that understand it, they're like, do you have business cards? I'm like, here's my card. They scanned it, and they're like, wait, I put all of this information into mine, and then I send you my contact information. They love it. Yeah, So no more business cards for John here. So, but
I stopped carrying them.
Yeah, but I just think networking is so important, but it's the right networking events. We're here in South Florida.
Weeding through the networking.
Oh my gosh, we need to have a show just on that, because there's so many networking events out there.
That's true. Got a lot of waste of time.
Right. And it's, how can we get to the right ones? you know,
Yeah.
and I always believe the right people, you
Yeah.
know. John, give the viewers out there just one, because I know you're such a networker, and I know, you know, you host the LinkedIn Live, the Boca LinkedIn Live one. You guys do a great job at that, and you said networking is important, but just give the viewers out there one tip of how to weed through the BS and really make a networking event work for them. And then I'm going to ask you one question of how to make it, what not to do at a networking event.
Okay.
So give us one thing to do and one not to do, or two to do, one not to do.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think they're one and the same. You know, what to do is not to be out there trying to sell, right? That's not what a networking event is about. A networking event is about getting to know the folks at the event personally, you know, find out who they are. Is it somebody that maybe you have similar interests? Somebody that you could maybe hang out with again some other time. You know, the reality is that it's not, networking is not about trying to land business at the first meeting. And as we've seen with LinkedIn and other places, people that do that lose, right? You don't come in selling, you come in to get to know the other person. And if you approach it in that manner, you're going to be much better off. You know, learn something interesting about that person that you can recall later, that maybe something in common. You both are sports fans or Heat fans or whatever it might be, you know, enjoy golf or, you know, the theater, whatever it is. You know, you can, if you talk to somebody and ask them enough open-ended questions, you're going to find out things about them that you might have in common that would be interesting to, you know, bring up later. Hey, how did that thing go? Right. You know, those are how you develop relationships and get people to see that you're there not to sell them something, but to create long-term valuable relationships in the end.
Yeah, I think that's what turns people off from going to the events, because you feel like you're being pitched all the time, all over the place, and you're like, geez, I didn't, you know.
Yeah, with like 10 advisors and 10 realtors, right?
Oh my gosh, it's like, hey, do you want to sit down and so I can go over you? And the best, I always love this, right? It's, you know, you obviously, I get asked it all the time. So, you know, I'd love to sit down with you and, you know, over coffee. That's the new thing. I want to go over coffee with you, or even on LinkedIn. I got a great story on LinkedIn that I just did yesterday.
Yeah, virtual coffee.
Yeah. So, I'd love to sit down with you and just talk with you. And I used to send back is, what are you trying to sell me? Right? You don't just want to sit down. But the financial advisor is okay with this. Right to the BS. But they're always like, hey, I want to sit down and, you know, I'm, you know, show you what I can do for you. And I'm like, listen, I'm happy with my advisor. I'm not going. And when they come back with me and say, well, not everybody has all the ideas out there, then I know I don't want to talk to you. Yeah. If you try to go that hard role of, hey, well, your advisor might not know everything and I do.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk
man,
to you.
you're playing music to my ears, but that's the reality, right? When I was a new advisor, you don't know what to say, right? And you're out there, you're competing with, you know, everybody today, financial advisors, the banks, the insurance companies, State Farm and Allstate, right? I mean, everybody's out there trying to sell you something in financial services. And so it's really hard to separate yourself from the crowd. And so those things that you said, I've said as a new advisor, right? Not everybody has all the best ideas, right? I didn't expect you to be sitting here waiting for me with money in your pocket to spend. You know, all of those things are stuff that they learn from the firms, right? Because they don't know what to say. A lot of it is imposter syndrome, and they're out there struggling to figure out how to talk about things. And that's why I'm so excited about Estate Guru, because it gives them something else even more important to talk about. Protecting your family. You know, do you have a kid in college that is an adult? God forbid he got into an accident, it was in the hospital. You need to call and get information. If you don't have a power of attorney, you're not getting anything, right? So to be able to provide these valuable services and talk about something that really can help protect the family versus trying to sell them an investment or some insurance product is a really great approach that's different than everybody else.
Yeah, it's good. So talking about the LinkedIn, we had Jason Hill, one of our sponsors,
which we didn't shout out the sponsors yet.
I'm going to at the end. I realized that in the beginning, is he was here. So yesterday, as I'm sitting at the airport in my delayed flight. I won't say the name of the
Come on.
airline that
Let's say
you know.
names on this show.
I know. I just never know what they're gonna do. But I was delayed on my flight 2 hours, and I hadn't flown this airline in a lot. And I thought maybe after all their December debacles that maybe they would figure something out.
Okay.
But 2 hour delay
Southwest.
last night, and I sat there and I made a little template. And everybody who tried to sell me recently on LinkedIn, right, the messages, and it's software developers, financial advisors, anybody, I said I only take calls on the Owl app. And I sent the link to the Owl app and said, if
Nice.
you want to talk to me,
Yeah, I'll take your call here.
I'll take your call in the Owl app.
Yeah.
If you really want to sell me something,
Yeah.
you'll spend money to sell me.
And
Right?
what's the cost of that?
So I charge $10 for 10 minutes.
Okay.
But there's a referral. If someone hasn't downloaded the app, they actually get a link where they get a $10 credit. So literally,
Yeah.
It's a free call.
It's a free call. Yeah.
No, I think what Jason's doing is amazing. He's a serial entrepreneur. I mean, he's an advisor. He's constantly on the go doing amazing things. And Al is just the next thing that he's done. And I think that's his absolute passion now. I was talking to him the other day and was trying to tell him about the estate guru. And he's like, I don't even know if I want to be an advisor anymore. He's like, Al is my thing. That's what I'm doing. I'm like, I totally get it. And good luck. I think you're on the right path. And so, yeah, Jason's amazing. And
Yeah, Jason
the
was
Al
like
app
me.
is awesome. And I need to get more active on there myself.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a great thing, right? It's kind of a two-way. It wasn't built to be kind of that sales aspect. It was really built for, hey, if I want to call somebody marketing, right? Like we're dealing with a new marketing firm right now, and she told us something that was so off the wall that John, myself, and Gary were like,
Never heard it before.
never heard this. And I was just kind of shocked that we heard it, right? And it was so different. And I can't wait to have her come on here and talk about that because it's something different than everybody else is talking about. But I'm like, I want to know. So I went to the L app, found some marketing people, and said, hey, is that there? Right. So it's a really good thing, but I think it's a sales tool now too. If I want somebody and I want to get them to use whatever product I have, will I pay that whatever they charge for the 10 minutes just to get them on a call? And guess what? That person's going to take the call because they're making money to be able to do that. So it's
worth their time. It's worth both people's time.
Yeah, I would hate that somebody would do that though, right? Because they're actually supposed to be calling to pick your brain, which is really the motive behind it, is to kind of be able to access experts in any area without having to engage in some sort of contract and get valuable information. Maybe you only have a couple of questions, and rather than have to commit to some hour expensive deal, you can call in and get those questions answered quickly. And I think that's the real value of Al, is to make experts accessible.
But you're not getting interrupted as a sales call that's cold, or an email that's you're expecting that call, and you may get pitched. You may get it someone. And I always say, people are always maybe initially you always hear, oh, there's too many commercials, or I don't want to get bombarded on the internet with ads, right? But the ads are relevant to what you like. Steve gets probably a lot of barbecue ads. I get probably a lot of board game ads, and it really makes this experience better. And you may come across something you didn't know about. Yeah. So same thing with these calls. Somebody may call, you're expecting a call, and all of a sudden he knows my business, right? And he's going to talk to me about something I may have never known about. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I do get a lot of it, but I get more of the stuff that that you love to talk about, all the energy drinks and health stuff, right? Now that I'm trying to get these things a little bigger, that now it's all workouts and pre-workout drinks, that none of them have fillers. None of them have fillers. Okay. Is the ones that they advertise. Yes. So, all right, John. It's the last little segment here. We appreciate your time. We're now here between the BS. So, I think John Garcia over here thinks that we had some BS. He missed the show, and I made an executive decision. Since John missed the show, I went up a point. I tried to weed in and get some free points to go up because we were tied. So you know what? I'll say it here. We're still tied.
Ooh, all right.
You know,
Let's
because
go.
I know, if I have that. So John, I'm going to ask you 2 truths and a lie. So give us 3 statements. 2 of them are going to be true. 1 of them is going to be a lie. And John and I have to try to see who's the better BS catcher.
Yep. What's the
Yeah.
BS and the? So go ahead. Whenever you're ready.
Whenever
I'm gonna
you're
write
ready.
them down. And John, you're in South Florida. We still invite you to the studio when you can.
Yeah.
You got to come and sign.
You got
on the wall.
to come sign the wall.
Oh yeah, I definitely will do that. Yeah, today's. a
Oh,
little
you
bit
know what?
crazy.
I got one thing to say. You know what I respect about John getting on the show? John was a little hesitant, when I called him, because John was like,
Scare anyone away.
where are we gonna go? Where are we gonna go on this? So John, I appreciate you getting on here on the show, even though I know it was a little John's like, do you have any episodes?
Let's
Do you have any episodes I can watch?
Let's mention the sponsor.
No, I know you believe that that's the case, but that's actually not the case. I haven't been on a lot of podcasts. I've been on a couple.
Okay.
And so I was watching something the other day, and it was saying that you should watch an episode ahead of time just to get a feel for the program.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that at all. And it was absolutely not that I was afraid to talk to you guys about that. You guys are more afraid of that than me. So let's weed through the BS and just get right down to it. You two are more afraid than I am. Yeah. All right. So that's the first. That's the first. Hey, that's the first truth right there.
That's not true.
Yeah, we want to keep this show.
We can
away
do a
from
separate podcast for that.
Just
Yes.
there.
But all love, no, but I wasn't worried about it at all. I was excited to do it. And the reason I asked about ahead of time is because they said you should at least get a feel for the show. And so I just followed that advice.
Different. We really, most of the guests so far have been relationships. We've had colleagues or professional, but I think the impromptuness of it, the spontaneous nature of the show is what's going to bring out the best conversations.
Yeah.
I was on 20 podcasts last year as a guest. And so many of them sent me, here's a list of the questions that I'm going to ask you.
Still,
That's boring. The best ones were the ones that just were raw, live, wherever it went, I was under the tiki hut one day having one, and these guys are like, dude, we love this because you're just, they were going to go one direction, we went a different direction,
and go with it.
and it's just, that's the way that I really want this, this podcast. So John, while you're thinking of your 3 things, I just want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, leadershipbooks.com. Thank you for all you do. Owl app. Again, we talked about it a little bit today, touched on that. Getting in touch with experts, Think Big websites, and of course, Premier Virtual. Thank you for all our sponsors, for all you guys do for us here at Weeding Through the BS. So, John, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get these 3.
All right. So first one, I met my wife on the beach and kissed her on the neck within the first 10 minutes of us talking.
Player. Wow. Wife on beach, kiss. Okay, I love that.
All right.
I didn't
Second
know I
one
got that vibe from you.
is I'm 5'11", but I was actually a good enough basketball player to play in junior college before I broke my ankle.
Okay.
And the final one is I am a concert pianist.
Concert pianist. Or is it pianist?
Ooh, this is going to be a tough one, but I think
Look at these fingers.
we're going to see. Let's see.
I chose her. So, want me to say it first?
Hold on. Okay.
I'm calling BS on the concert pianist because you said pianist, and that's wrong grammatically. So if you were a pianist, you would have said.
Is it?
So that's where I'm.
I think so. It's funny. He tried to sell it at the end, and then he tried to go like this. So you may be right on this, but he said something earlier that I'm taking, and I'm gonna say either he BS'd earlier or he BS'd now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say like, I think he said he was like the girl ladies, right? Went after him.
Yeah,
But he said he met his wife at a restaurant earlier. So I have to say Beach Neck Kiss is the BS.
All right. Well, John is right. And I didn't say that I met her at a restaurant. I met her on the beach. I've been in the restaurant business, but I met her on the beach. She was on vacation. And what's really cool was we didn't talk at all initially. And it was just kind of flirting from a distance. She went across the street with her mom like she was leaving. I was like, hey, where are you going? Came back across the street, and I went to shake her hand. And one of my friends took a picture of the very first moment we spoke and touched hands, and never told me, and gave me that picture at our wedding.
And that was before iPhones, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Way before
Okay.
iPhones.
That was back when you had the little
That, like, to have the camera,
Yeah.
that was
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome. You know,
But I also do have that picture of me kissing her neck after about 10 minutes.
nice.
Yeah.
You know, that's I love that. I don't know if you know this, John.
What's up?
I was at an FAU's first home football game, and I see this girl. I walk up and I photobomb her. I look at her. I go, "Oh my gosh, you look so familiar." She goes, "I do." I go, "Yeah, you look just like my next ex-girlfriend." We are now married with 2 kids, and I did the same thing, John. And somebody took that photobomb picture. We had it, and the best part, her and I were actually set up to be met on a blind date the next day.
Wow.
We did not know each other whatsoever. I get a message from my buddy, his wife Janine sent me a message and goes, "So I see you met Christine." I go, "Who's Christine?" She goes, "There's a picture of you guys on Facebook at the game yesterday." She goes, "That's who I was setting you up to meet." Like, how crazy is that,
That
right?
is crazy.
You know, and John, you're the same way, right? You got that first picture. It's so crazy when you really think about, right? Like, things happen for, but why? A cheesy pickup line.
Yeah. That's weeding through the BS.
I weeded right through the BS, and now we're married with 2 kids. So, John, thank you for weeding through the BS. We enjoyed having you on here.
Yeah, we're gonna add in the show notes a state guru, so we'll get the link for that, and also for the DNA assessment. And your words right at the beginning, you know, I just want to echo them. Fear is the biggest killer of dreams. Thank you for sharing that with us. You know, people have probably said that, but just, you know, confirming that that's one of the things we believe in, and tell people. So thank you.
Yeah, I love that. You just go for it.
Yeah.
Right? He said that, and we all know that's my motto. So, John, we love that. We love that you said that. We love having you on. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Good to see you, and I hope to see you guys soon in person.
We'll see you too. Thanks,
Take
John.
care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.